Nonsense. So it's nonsense now to tell you the truth. You have a good husband. What is wrong with you? Do you know how many women are crying in marriage? I'm not many women, Ada. Nkem snapped. I want more for my life. I don't want to be stuck here, sewing clothes and eating rice every Sunday. I want to travel, wear fine clothes, go to places. Livinus is holding me back. Once upon a time, in a small but lively neighborhood in Nigeria, there lived a couple that many people admired. Their names were Nkem and Livinus. They were not rich, but they were rich in love, respect, and happiness. Livinus was a quiet, humble man. He worked as a block molder at different building sites. Every morning, he woke up early, tied his old boots, packed his lunch, kissed his wife and children, and left for work with a smile. Even when the sun was hot or the rain poured down, Livinus never complained. He was a man of peace and patience, always doing his best to provide for his family. His wife Nkem was a beautiful tailor. She was known all around the neighborhood for her sewing skills. Her hands worked like magic. Whether it was native attire, office wear, or school uniforms, people trusted her with their clothes. Her small shop was just beside their rented two-room apartment, and every day, women gathered there to wait for her service. She would laugh and talk with them while her sewing machine ran non-stop. Nkem was not only good at sewing, she was also kind and respectful. She spoke softly and smiled easily. Her customers loved her, and her neighbors praised her for being a good wife. Many would say, God bless Nkem. She respects her husband like a king. If I ever get married, I want to be like her. Their two children, Amanda and Ebuka, were a reflection of their home. Amanda was 7 years old and already helping her mother in the shop with simple things like threading needles or bringing her water. Ebuka, who was 5, followed his father around when he was home, helping him wash his work boots or carry his lunch bag. Though they did not have much money, they had what money could not buy: peace, love, and togetherness. They prayed together, ate together, and sometimes danced in their small sitting room on Sunday evenings. If Nkem cooked jollof rice, Livinus would often dance and tease her. "Ah, my wife, this rice can wake the dead though." And the children would laugh and join in. On special days like birthdays, even if they didn't have cake, they would make the day joyful by singing, clapping, and sometimes frying puff-puff with the little they had. Their happiness was simple, but it was real. Almost everyone in the neighborhood admired them. Many would say, "This is the kind of marriage we pray for. Look at how they love each other." Some of the women even used them as an example when advising their own daughters or friends. But not everyone was happy for them. Just a few houses away lived Uloma, a widow who had lost her husband many years ago. She was known in the neighborhood not just for being outspoken, but also for being sharp-mouthed and full of gossip. They called her CNN because she knew everything that happened in the area, even things that she wasn't supposed to know. Uloma sold foodstuffs at the junction, things like rice, beans, onions, and Maggi. She didn't lack money, but her heart was full of bitterness. She lived alone because her two children had gone to stay with their grandmother after their father died. People avoided her gossip and tried not to stay long when buying from her. But Uloma had sharp eyes, and nothing escaped her. From her shop, she saw everything: when Livinus left for work, when Nkem was cooking, when the children went to school. She noticed how Nkem often smiled when Livinus walked into her shop just to bring her a drink or ask how her day was going. She noticed the way Livinus sometimes sat with the kids outside in the evening, helping them with their homework while Nkem worked inside. All of it irritated her. At first, Uloma said nothing, she would just hiss and say to no one in particular, hey, ordinary tailor and block molder are forming Romeo and Juliet in Nokwa. Hey. But as days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the peace and joy in Nkem's family began to scratch her soul. Uloma had not always been this way. Years ago, she too had a husband. They were never rich, but they were managing. Until one day, her husband died in an accident on his way back from a drinking joint. That day broke her. She became angry at life. And since then, every happy couple reminded her of what she had lost. Her bitterness slowly turned into a silent mission. She would not rest until she pulled others down. And so, when she noticed how close and loving Nkem and Livinus were, she decided to focus on them. But there was something else people didn't know. Uloma had a history. 3 women in that same neighborhood had once opened their hearts to her, trusting her with secrets and advice. 3 of those women no longer lived with their husbands. The first left because Uloma told her that the man was cheating. It wasn't true. The second packed out because Uloma told her the man was hiding money from her. That too wasn't true. The third left when Uloma said her husband had gotten another woman pregnant. No one ever confirmed if it was true, but the damage had been done. People suspected Uloma had something to do with those breakups, but she was always smart. She never said anything directly. She would only advise or ask suspicious questions. Then she would smile and say, I didn't say anything, no, I just care. So far, her mouth had destroyed 3 homes and now she had her eyes on Nkem's. One Sunday morning, after watching Nkem and Livinus come back from church with their kids, smiling and holding hands, Uloma made up her mind. Imagine this fool. She thinks she has found husband material. She muted to herself. Let me shake that small piece they are enjoying. Let me see if her love will survive truth. She looked at her wardrobe and picked a fine material she had been saving for months, shiny red with golden edges. Then she ironed it neatly and folded it into a black nylon. I will give her this one to sew. Let me see if she's still smiling till next month. And with that, she began her mission. Days later, it was a bright Monday morning, and Nkem had just cleaned her small sewing shop. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and her kids had left for school. She was ready to start a new dress for a customer when she heard someone tapping on the wall gently. It was Uloma. Nkem looked up and smiled politely. Ah, Auntie Uloma, good morning, oh. You're early today. Uloma entered the shop, dressed in a bright orange blouse and a tight wrapper that hugged her wide hips. Her red lipsticks shined from eating something oily, and her perfume was so strong that it filled the whole shop within seconds. I'm always early when it comes to good work, Uloma said with a loud laugh as she dropped a black nylon bag on the table. This material is for you to work your magic on. I want to wear something that will shake the next party. Nkem opened the bag and smiled. Ah, this coat is fine, oh. The color will fit you well. What style do you want? I will show you the style from my own phone later. Uloma said so as she pulled a plastic chair closer and sat down without asking. But for now, let's talk small. I like your place. It's peaceful. Nkem nodded. Already cutting the material. Yes, so we thank God. Uloma folded her arms and leaned back. Peaceful home, a good man, 2 fine children, and a successful tailor. Nne, you are enjoying, oh. You are really enjoying, Nkem. Nkem blushed a little. We thank God, Auntie. There was a pause. Then Uloma's voice changed. Her tone became slower and more thoughtful. But let me ask you something, Nkem. Just woman to woman. Nkem paused and looked at her, unsure. Okay. Uloma lowered her voice, like someone about to share a deep secret. You, a fine girl like this, Fresh skin, curved body, beautiful face. You really mean to say it's Livinus you settled with? Nkem blinked, confused. I don't understand. Uloma leaned in closer, smiling but with sharp eyes. Nkem, I'm not saying he's a bad person, no. But let's be honest. Let's just be honest with ourselves. The man short though. He dark and he dey carry block for sight. Na that kind man fine girl like you wan end up with? Eh? Na that kind man you suppose marry? Nkem laughed quickly, trying to brush it off. Ah, Aunty Uloma, it's not like that oh. He's a good man. He takes care of us. He doesn't beat me. And he loves his children. Uloma raised her hand as if to silence her. I know. Good man. But let me tell you something, Nkem. There are many good men who also have money, who also smell nice, who drive cars. See this our neighborhood. Have you not seen what Ngozi is enjoying since she left that her broke mechanic husband? The new man carries her for his Benz every Saturday. Nkem's smile began to fade. Uloma continued, gently tapping her chin. Even you, Nkem, you dey sew clothes for big babes in this area, lawyers, big madams, even bank workers. Don't you see their lifestyle? Don't you sometimes wonder what your life would look like if you married someone a little higher? Nkem looked away and didn't answer. See, I know what I'm saying, Uloma whispered like she was talking to a friend at midnight. Livinus is not bad, but sometimes we women dey use our hand block our blessings. You still young now. If you carry yourself well, good things fit still happen for your life. Think am. Anyway, I no talk anything no. I'm just saying my own. She stood up, dusted her wrapper, and smiled like everything she had just said was normal. I'll come back in 2 days to check the progress on my clothes. Thank you, tailor of life. She left casually as she came, humming a tune as she crossed the street back to her house. Nkem stood still in her shop for a while. Her scissors lay still on the table. Her eyes looked blankly at the red fabric. Something inside her head shifted, and she couldn't name it. She had always been proud of Livinus. He was not perfect, but he was kind. He never shouted at her. He worked hard. He helped with the children. He brought money home, even if it wasn't much. In a world where some women slept in tears, she had always slept in peace. But now, something was wrong. She began to remember little things Uloma said. Short, dark, block molder, not your level. You fine pass am. She shook her head. No, I shouldn't be thinking this. But the thoughts were already planted, like small seeds in the soil of her heart, and they had begun to take root. That night, Livinus came back from work later than usual. His face and hands were stained with cement. His old trousers had torn at the pocket, and he looked more tired than ever. Welcome, my husband, Nkem said, forcing a smile. Thank you, my wife, he replied, setting down his tools by the door. He reached for his bag and brought out a small paper-wrapped meat pie. I bought this one for you today. I saw them selling it by the site. I know it's small, but I just said let me surprise you. Nkem collected it and said, thank you, but her voice lacked excitement. A small part of her was wondering, why meat pie? Is that all he could buy? Later that night, Nkem went out to get something from outside, and as she walked back into the compound, she saw Livinus sitting under the bulb by their doorstep, holding his old black shoes. He didn't know she was coming. He brought out an old bottle of glue from a nylon bag and began carefully patching the sides of the shoe. The leather had started to peel, and the sole was almost broken. With slow hands, he applied the glue and pressed the parts together, waiting for them to dry. Then he turned the shoe around, sighed deeply, and began to fix the other one. Nkem stood there, silently watching him. Before now, if she saw her husband doing that, she would have felt sorry for him, maybe even proud of how hardworking and humble he was. But tonight, with Uloma's words echoing in her head, all she could feel was shame. Shame that her husband could not afford new shoes. Shame that he had to patch his own shoes like a poor man in the street. Shame that he would sit outside like that in public, gluing torn leather like it was normal. She turned around quietly and walked back into the house without saying a word. And in that moment, something cracked in her heart. Nkem no longer looked at her husband the same way. Days passed since Uloma's visit, and the seed she planted had grown silently inside Nkem's mind. What started as random thoughts became regular whispers in her heart, whispers that made her question everything. She now noticed Livino's flaws like they were suddenly new. The way his thick hands were always raw from lifting blocks, the way he bent his back when walking home tired, the way his shirts were always faded, the way his English wasn't as sharp as other men she saw on Instagram. She started watching him closely, not with love, but with judgment. When he asked how her day went, she gave short answers. When he tried to touch her, she pulled away and said she was tired. When he made jokes to cheer her up, she either ignored them or rolled her eyes. Livinus noticed the change. At first, he thought she was just stressed from work. Maybe it was the customers. Maybe she needed help with the kids. So he offered to close early from site to assist her more. But the more he tried, the more she pushed him away. One evening, after returning from work, Livinus dropped a small nylon bag on the table. "I saw this hair cream at the market," he said. "The woman said it grows hair. I remember you said you wanted to grow the front again." Nkem looked at the nylon and hissed, "Hair cream? Is that what people are buying for their wives these days?" Livinus blinked. "I thought it would." "You thought? Mr. Totter," she cut in. "Next time, don't think. I'll tell you when I need something." She turned and walked into the room. Livinus stared at the cream in the nylon, then quietly picked it up and dropped it in the corner. That night, she served food to only the children and said she wasn't hungry. When Livinus asked if he should serve himself, she nodded without looking up. She was busy on her phone, laughing and typing. Livinus noticed her behavior becoming more secretive. She now carried her phone with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. She changed her phone password. She started putting her phone on silent. Some nights, she would step out to the backyard after everyone had slept and spend long minutes whispering over the phone. He tried not to suspect anything, but it hurt. It hurt him so deeply. At midnight, when he turned on the bed to hold her, she would push his hand off. "Please, let me sleep," she would say. "I am tired." By the day, she was distant. By the night, she was a stranger. One day, Livinus came home early because it rained heavily at the site and they had to stop work. When he got home, he found Nkem lying on the couch, dressed in fine clothes, her makeup fresh. There was a pack of takeouts of jollof rice, chicken, and juice on the table. Amanda and Ebuka were eating beside her, giggling as they dipped spoons into the food. "Daddy!" Ebuka shouted with joy when he saw Livinus. But Nkem didn't smile. She didn't even look up. Livinus looked at the food and said, "Wow, you people are enjoying, oh. Where is mine?" Nkem finally looked up, her face blank. "I didn't buy for you." Livinus chuckled like he didn't hear well. "You didn't?" "No," she said flatly. "I only bought for the kids and myself. I didn't know you would come home early." Livinus stood there for a moment, unsure whether to be angry or quiet. He looked at his kids, happily eating, then forced a smile. "Okay, no problem." He walked into the bedroom and shut the door. Nkem didn't feel guilty, not even a little. She believed she was doing nothing wrong. If Livinus couldn't give her the life she wanted, then she has the right to enjoy herself anyhow she could. She had started chatting with men online. Some of them were old classmates. Some were strangers. She met them on Facebook, Instagram, and even WhatsApp groups. Most of them called her Fine Tailor or Madam Slay Queen. They complimented her skin, her smile, her eyes. They told her she looked too sweet to be managing one local man. At first, the chats were innocent, just fun, just catching cruise, as she told herself. But soon, she began enjoying the attention. She started deleting her chats, started making secret calls, started saving men's names with fake names like Auntie Caro, Customer 2, or Sister Nkechi. There was one man who stood out. His name was Ogechukwu, and he claimed to be a successful businessman who dealt in electronics. His Instagram was filled with pictures of fine suits, flashy cars, vacations, and hotel lobbies. He messaged Nkem one day after seeing her comment on a friend's post. At first, she ignored him, but after he called her queen and sent her a picture of a gold necklace he claimed he wanted to buy for her, she replied. Their chat grew fast. Why is someone as beautiful as you still married to a site worker? He once asked her. He's not just a site worker, Nkem replied. He's the father of my kids. Ogechukwu sent a laughing emoji. So if he's the father, must he be your whole life? You deserve soft life, oh. Let me treat you right, Nne. At first, Nkem told herself she would block him, but she didn't. Instead, she saved his number. She started dreaming of other lives. Better lives. Lives with soft pillows, fine clothes, rich perfumes, and spa treatments. She started to feel embarrassed about her present life. She stopped wearing her old gowns and began dressing more seductively. Even to the market, she started taking selfies and posting with captions like, "Deserve more than I am getting," or "Beauty with no regrets." Meanwhile, Livinus continued doing his best at home. He helped the children with homework. He still greeted his wife with love, still brought small gifts from his site, still tried to make conversation at dinner. But Nkem had changed. She now saw him as a burden. His kindness annoyed her. His humility irritated her. She felt trapped with him, as if she were meant for more but was stuck with less. One afternoon, Livinus returned from work early because of stomach upset. He didn't tell anyone he was coming. When he entered the compound, he heard Nkem laughing loudly from the backyard. He walked in quietly. She was on the phone. "I told you, don't worry. Don't worry about the money. I'll find a way. Even if I have to lie to him, I will send it. I just want to see you smile, baby." There was a pause. Then she laughed again. "No, he's not around. That one is always carrying cement on his head like gorilla. I don't even know what I'm still doing with him, honestly." Livinus stood frozen for a second. The pain he felt was sharp, raw and deep, like someone had poured cold water inside his chest. He turned around and walked back out of the compound quietly. That night, he said nothing. He simply ate his food in silence, while Nkem, still smiling at her phone, served the children fried rice and chicken wings she didn't cook in the house. The worst part, she didn't even offer him a spoon. Livinus slept that night with tears in his eyes. And Nkem, she stayed awake, chatting with Ogechukwu, sending pictures, making promises, and giggling like a teenager. But what she didn't know was this: Ogechukwu was a liar. The cars on his Instagram were borrowed. The hotels were from Google. The clothes were from a friend's boutique. He had no business, no job, no plans. He was living in a friend's boys' quarter in Festac and used free Wi-Fi at a bar near the main road. Every message he sent was bait. He had done it before, and he would do it again. To him, Nkem was just another bored married woman looking for adventure, and she had taken the bait completely. The house no longer felt like a home. It was still the same small two-room apartment in the same peaceful neighborhood, but everything inside had changed. Livinus woke up earlier than usual these days, not because of work, but because he wanted to avoid the tension in the house. Nkem no longer greeted him in the morning. She no longer asked if he had eaten. She didn't help him pack food for work. And when he came back, she barely looked at him. She stayed glued to her phone, smiling at it, sleeping with it under her pillow, and guiding it like treasure. But Livinus said nothing. Not because he didn't see what was happening, but because he didn't know what to say. Each time he opened his mouth to speak, fear would rise in his chest like smoke. Fear of what her reply might be. Fear that if he said the wrong thing, she might walk out, and he didn't want to lose his home. So he swallowed his pain and tried to be a better man. He worked longer hours, accepted extra shifts on site, and even borrowed money once to buy foodstuffs when Nkem refused to cook for days. He kept smiling in front of his children, acting like all was well. But at night, when they slept, he would sit outside with his head in his hands, whispering silent prayers. God, please touch her heart. Don't let this home scatter, please. His children, Amanda and Ebuka, noticed the change too. Mommy doesn't play with us again, Amanda said one evening as Livinus helped her with homework. She's always pressing phone. Ebuka added, yesterday, she told me to go and ask you for dinner. Livinus didn't reply. He just kissed their foreheads and said, don't worry, Mommy will be fine. But Nkem wasn't getting better. She was getting worse. She no longer did any sewing. Customers would come to the shop, wait for an hour, and leave angry. She barely washed the children's clothes or helped them get ready for school. She used to be the woman other wives admired. Neat, focused, peaceful. Now, she wore tight clothes around the house, painted her face even to fetch water, and snapped selfies on her way to the junction. Nkem had changed completely. It wasn't long before the family noticed. One afternoon, her elder sister Ada came to visit. She sat down in the parlor, crossed her arms, and stared at Nkem. Nkem, what is going on with you? She asked seriously. You are not the same person I used to know. Even Mommy is worried. Nkem rolled her eyes. Please, Ada, I don't want to hear lecture today. If you came to talk nonsense, you can go. Ada sat up. Nonsense? So it's nonsense now to tell you the truth. You have a good husband. What is wrong with you? Do you know how many women are crying in marriage? I'm not many women, Ada. Nkem snapped. I want more for my life. I don't want to be stuck here, sewing clothes and eating rice every Sunday. I want to travel, wear fine clothes, go to places. Livinus is holding me back. Ada's eyes widened. So you now see your husband as a burden? He has no ambition. Nkem shouted. He's content with suffering. Me, I am not. I want better. And I will get better. Ada stood up, heartbroken. You will regret this, Nkem. I just hope it won't be too late for you. I won't, Nkem said, turning her back to her sister. And so Ada left. But she wasn't the only one who tried. Nkem's cousin, her aunt, and even her old friend from secondary school came to talk to her. She insulted them all. She said they were jealous. She said they didn't understand what it meant to dream big. She said her marriage was her business and no one else's. At night, while Livinus snored quietly from exhaustion, Nkem would sneak to the corner of the sitting room and call Ogechukwu. Baby, I can't wait to be with you, she whispered one night. Soon, Ogechukwu replied, I will take you out of that place. That is a prison. Just pack your things and be ready. You are too sweet to be wasting away. He sent her pictures of shopping bags, money bundles, and hotel rooms. Nkem believed it all. She believed he was her savior, that he was the man she should have married, that he would have helped her start a new life without stress, without suffering, without a husband who wore patched clothes or shoes. She didn't know that the pictures were all fake. She didn't know Ogechukwu had no job and was courting with a friend. She didn't know he had once been married and had beaten his ex-wife so badly that she ran away with their only child. She didn't know the truth, and she didn't care. One sunny afternoon, while Livinus was still at work, Nkem called Amanda and Ebuka into the sitting room. "Children, go and pack your clothes into your school bags," she said with a straight face. "Are we going somewhere?" Amanda asked. Nkem nodded. "Yes, we are moving." Ebuka clapped. "Are we going with Daddy?" "No," Nkem said, avoiding eye contact. "Just me and you two." The children looked at each other, confused. "Why?" Amanda asked. Nkem didn't answer. Instead, she opened her small wardrobe and began folding her clothes into a Ghana must-go bag. She pulled out her perfumes, her shoes, her wigs. She rushed like someone escaping from danger. Her hands were shaking, but her mind was made up. 30 minutes later, a shiny blue Toyota Corolla pulled up in front of the house. The engine was still running when the door opened, and Ogechukwu stepped out in sunglasses, smelling like heavy collagen. He leaned against the car with a proud smile on his face. The neighborhood stared. People came out of their houses. They watched with open mouths. Nkem dragged her bag out and dropped it in the back seat. The children stood at the door, still in their school uniform, holding their backpacks but not moving. "Go in now," Nkem said. "Let's go." Amanda's lips quivered. "What about Daddy?" "He will be fine," Nkem said sharply. "Let's go." Ebuka burst into tears. "Mommy, I want to stay with Daddy." Amanda started crying too. "Please, Mommy, don't take us away." Nkem's face hardened. She pushed their bags back into the house and said, "Fine, stay. I'll come for you later." She stormed off to the car, leaving the children crying at the door. Ogechukwu laughed and said, "That's the kind of bold woman I like." The engine roared and they drove off, right in front of everyone. By the time Livinus returned home, he met Amanda and Ebuka sitting outside, their eyes red, their faces stained with tears. "Where is your mother?" he asked, already sensing something terrible. Amanda pointed to the street. She left with a man. Livinus stood still, his hands falling to his sides. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. He simply walked into the house, sat on the plastic chair in the corner, and stared at the floor. His whole world had just fallen apart. But he said nothing. The next morning, Nkem woke up in a room that smelled of freshener, not sweat. The mattress was soft, the curtains were velvet, and the room had both a fan and an air conditioner. She stretched her legs, looked around with a deep sense of satisfaction. The television on the wall played soft music. Beside the bed was a small table stacked with beauty products, perfumes, and makeup brushes. Her new iPhone lay by her pillow, fully charged. This was the life she had always imagined. Gone were the days of kerosene lanterns, patched buckets, and cooking with firewood behind the house. Her life had changed. She had moved from a small two-room apartment to a comfortable flat in a nicer part of town. The compound was clean, the neighbors minded their business, and the power supply was steady. Ogechukwu treated her like royalty. Every weekend came with a new surprise. One Saturday, it was a spa day. The next, a trip to beach in Lagos. He bought her clothes, jewelry, wigs, and perfumes. He handed her a bundle of cash like they were sweets. Her phone was now filled with photos of her drinking wine in hotel rooms, posing in front of mirrors, and stepping out of salons in designer clothes. She posted regularly online, updating her stories with captions about rest, beauty, and freedom. Each time she uploaded a picture of herself smiling with a new bag or eating something expensive, her comment section exploded with admiration. Her friends sent her messages saying she looked like a celebrity. Some even asked her how she did it. She didn't tell them. She never said the full story. She only said God did it. Inside her, pride began to grow. She believed she had made the best decision. She believed she had upgraded. Her new lifestyle had become a drug sweet, fast and addictive. She woke up late, took long baths, painted her nails, and planned her outfits for outing she never used to dream of. She was living what she called the soft life. Meanwhile, back in the old neighborhood, things were falling apart. Livinus tried to hide the pain, but it showed in his face. His eyes were heavier, his clothes duller, his shoulders lower. With Nkem gone, all the housework fell on him. He woke up early, bathed the children, dressed them, made breakfast, packed their lunch, and rushed them off to school before heading to the building site. Work was harder now. The sun felt hotter. The cement dust stuck to his sweat-drenched skin. But he never complained. After work, he would pick the children, go home, cook dinner, help them with their homework, and put them to bed. Then he would sit in silence in the corner of their living room and stare into space. Every part of his body ached, not just from labor, but from loneliness. Some days, the children asked questions he couldn't answer. They wanted to know when their mother would visit. He had no reply. They wanted to know why she didn't call. He lied that she was busy. Deep down, he feared they would forget her, but feared even more that they would remember. One rainy morning, things took a turn for the worse. Ebuka woke up shivering, his forehead burning. He had been coughing all night, but Livinus thought it was just the weather. Now, his eyes were red, and he could barely sit up. Amanda stood in a corner, frightened and unsure. Livinus placed the back of his hand on the boy's chest and knew this was beyond him. He wrapped his son in a blanket and carried him to the nearest clinic. The doctor confirmed it was a chest infection caused by cold, stress, and poor nutrition. Livinus couldn't afford all the drugs. He paid for what he could and promised to bring the balance later. He rushed back home with his son on his back, Amanda by his side, and a heavy storm pouring over them. That night, he sat in the kitchen, preparing pap and thinking about everything. He had given his heart, his loyalty, and his effort, and yet he was left alone. No one to help him, no partner to share the burden, no wife to carry half of the weight. But he didn't let bitterness enter him. He stayed strong for the children. Nkem was getting her nails done in a high-end salon. The smell of hairspray and expensive cream filled the air. She wore a silk dress, gold earrings, and soft slippers. Her skin glowed. Her hair bounced with each step. She was surrounded by other women like her, women with phones in their hands and smiles on their faces, each showing off their comfort to the world. After the salon, she and Ogechukwu went shopping. He handed her his card and told her to pick anything she wanted. She moved through the mall like a queen, choosing dresses, handbags, and jewelry. The sales girls followed her around, calling her ma and packing her items neatly. She liked the attention. She felt important. She felt seen. As they walked down the corridor of the mall, laughing and sipping ice cream, something unexpected happened. Nkem excused herself to check a store that sold perfumes. She walked in alone, while Ogechukwu waited outside. After a few minutes, as she came out carrying a small bag, her eyes fell on something she never imagined. Just a few steps away, near the escalator, Ogechukwu was standing close to a young girl, not older than 20. The girl was fair-skinned, dressed in a short yellow dress, and had long braided hair. She smiled at him, and he was talking fast, using his hands and making her laugh. Then, he did something worse. He pulled her gently by the waist and placed his arms around her shoulder. Then he turned to someone who had just walked by and proudly said, "She's my person." Nkem stood frozen. She didn't know if it was the words or the way he touched the girl, but something inside her cracked. Her heartbeat slowed. The mall's music sounded distant. She stood there, holding her perfume bag, watching the man she had abandoned everything for flirt with another girl like she didn't exist. Her soft life suddenly felt cold. Nkem could no longer lie to herself. Ever since that day after the mall, her heart had been heavy. The image of Ogechukwu smiling beside that girl and wrapping his arms around her like she was his treasure had refused to leave her mind. At first, she told herself maybe it meant nothing. Maybe she misunderstood. But deep down, she knew better. Everything began to change after that. Ogechukwu stopped picking her calls on time. Sometimes, he returned home very late. His clothes smelled of strange perfumes, sweet and unfamiliar. He would shower immediately and avoid eye contact. He no longer brought her surprise gifts. He stopped asking her what she wanted or where she wanted to go. The man who once begged her to leave her marriage and promised her paradise now moved around the house like a guest. His tone was colder, his eyes sharper, his smile rarer. Sometimes, he would leave for hours without telling her where he was going. When he returned and she tried to ask, he would either ignore her completely or hiss like her question was an insult. He started locking his phones with passwords. She once tried checking when he was in the bathroom, only for him to snatch it from her hand like she was a thief. Meals became lonely, outings became fewer, affection disappeared. The home that once felt like a palace began to feel like a cage. A beautiful, expensive golden cage. Nkem started to regret. Not openly, not yet. But in the silence of the night, when Ogechukwu was out and the lights were off, she would lie on the bed and stare at the ceiling, tears silently falling into her pillow. She began to think of her children, Amanda and Ebuka. She wondered if they were eating well, if their hair was neat, if they were happy. She remembered the way they cried and begged her not to leave. She remembered their small arms wrapped against their knees, pleading with their innocent voices. She hadn't called them in weeks. She didn't know how to. Shame had tied her tongue. She also thought of Livinus, his quiet ways, his patience, the calm in his voice. She remembered the little things he did, how he used to bring her meat pie even when he didn't have enough money, how he always prayed for her before leaving for work, how he stayed up to help the children with homework. His love had been soft, steady, and kind. Ogechukwu's love, on the other hand, had been loud, flashy, and short.